The most important piece is we're going to take the North and never give it back.
I've told you before, I'm a fan. This is our second meeting. You are nice, all right? You are nice with yours, all right?
I just want to shout out to Swift at Swift Sports Network.
What's up, Swift? This is Kyler Gordon. Just want to do a quick shout out to Swift Sports Network with all the latest news on the Bears.
You ain't speaking facts, we don't want to hear it. Yeah, we going for the dub. You are now watching Swift Sports.
The Bears.
NFL Draft, Day 2, here live with Greg Gabriel. We're going to have our reactions from round 1, talking about Colston Loveland and going over the incredible talent that I believe is still on the board in round 2 and potentially deep into round 3 as well. Greg, always great to be joined by you, my man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm tired, to be honest with you, because I
didn't sleep. I slept like 4 hours, maybe 3.
That's about what I had, because I was looking at tape last night after, got up early, to prepare for the show with Aldo and this one and look at more tape. So, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, initially, I'll say the one thing about the pick that it just caught me off guard. For me, I like to scout these players, and I like to watch as much tape on the guys and try to narrow down the picks. One of the reasons I didn't have us narrowed in on Colston Loveland, I actually saw a tweet. The main guy that runs Underdog, Underdog Fantasy, like they're a big.
No,
it's like a big. They're like a big fantasy sports show.
Yeah, I have never played fantasy in my life, nor will I ever.
Well, yeah, but the reason I don't know is, but they've grown from fantasy. They now do they have a YouTube where they break down player prospects. It's two really knowledgeable guys. But one of the guys, he tweeted out last week that he 100% believed that Colston Loveland was a better fit for Ben Johnson's offense. And he said he had heard from people around the NFL that they feel that way too. And at that point, I thought, and I was like, I should go back on Colston Loveland and look at him more. But then I looked at his shoulder injury and I was like, man, those AC joints, those can be tricky. And for me, I was just like, I don't know. To me, I didn't think we were going to take an injured guy that high. So that's why I initially was away from it. But the talent is there. I like the talent. What are your thoughts initially on Colston Loveland?
Well, I know for a fact that the Colts were going to take him at 14.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they ended up taking Warren because the Bears took Loveland. Now I said this on the other show. I had some text with Ballard yesterday. And, I sent him a text with thumbs up after the pick. And he goes, yeah, we wanted the other guy. He goes,
he said they wanted the other guy?
Oh, yeah. I knew that Tuesday. I talked to him Tuesday. I knew they wanted Loveland. And he said, but we got lucky. Warren was still there. Chicago took the right tight end for them. And then
Chris Ballard. Chris Ballard is the Colts general manager.
Yeah,
for
and then a little later on, he goes, much better fit with Kmet.
Okay. I like it. I think the one thing about him that it's just easy to see is he is an incredible route runner. He's fast. He knows how to set people up. He knows how to get in and out of his breaks. He can decelerate for a big guy. He's fluid in the open field, and he's 6'6", 250. So one of the crazy things that I read about him initially was that he's not good at contested catches. PFF has his contested catch rate at 20%. They said he only had 10 contested catch opportunities in his career at Michigan and only caught 2 of them. The problem with that I'm seeing, and we know PFF, not going to get into that. We're not going to. We know, but I watched 2 games of all 22 last night. I'm going to go through and watch every one of his all 22 games because I admitted it last night live. He was probably the player in the top 20 that I scouted the least for this year's draft. So it was a little bit exciting that the player we drafted, I still get to scout, and I hadn't completely already broke him down yet, but it did surprise me. But one thing I saw is I saw like 8 contested catches in 3 games. So I don't know what they're one of the things I think they're not calling him contested catches is because he's so big that he just goes up and gets it.
He wins. He's got long arms.
So he's above people,
on a 6'6" frame, and he wins with the size.
But when there's a guy on your chest, just because you go up, I still believe that's a contested catch. You're just going up and mossing him. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Now, on the injury, I had a slight feeling that it could go that way, but I was going, no, same where you were. And only because of Amagaji, but totally different thing. And Amagaji, offensive lineman, you're injured, you miss camp, you're dead in the water. Okay, this guy and I had a text conversation with an orthopedic who's a shoulder surgeon, shoulder specialist, one of the best. And, because I wanted to know, I had never heard of AC joint reconstruction. I've had 2 AC surgeries.
Okay.
50 years when I was playing. But, I had them, and I was like describing what I had. And I said, what is this? And he said, well, it's like the newer version of what you had. And then I said, well, how long is the recovery? He goes, he's going to be fine. The recovery's 6 months. He goes, now, give or take a couple weeks. Had the surgery mid-January, give or take the 20th of January. I don't know the exact date. And which puts 6 months at July 20th. Okay, so he should, and that's to be full go, not to be clear to work out. I mean, he can work out now.
Yeah.
So he shouldn't miss any camp. And if he does, he'd be like a week on PUP. And with a tight end, wide receiver, that's not a big deal. It's a big deal for an offensive lineman. So, he can learn in OTAs. He can do walkthroughs at OTAs. Might even be able to run routes, but he just don't throw him the football because he won't be able to do this.
Oh yeah, and that's what we what we need him doing too. Yeah.
But you can get him involved in this stuff, just not throw the ball at him. But he's a good player. I asked Chris, I said, is he all right medically? He goes, he's going to be fine. So, and like I said, I knew, he didn't say, I'm going to take him. He now admitted it on the one text, but I know Chris for, I hired him, gave him his first NFL job. I've known him 25 years. And when he gets enthused about a player, that's the guy he wants.
Oh yeah.
So and then he flat out admitted it.
Do you have any comparisons because when I've watched what I've seen from him so far, I got a couple comps that I think, at least as far as his frame and the way he plays as a tight end, he's obviously more of a receiver. I see Greg Olsen. Do you see that?
Well,
no, you could also throw a little Jimmy Graham in there as well.
I didn't hear everything you said because you were breaking up.
Oh, my bad. I said I compare him basically to he has a lot of Greg Olsen in his game and a little bit of Jimmy Graham.
Okay, I think he's a little taller than Greg. I think he might, yeah, I mean, that's a good comp, and speed is probably similar. I'm trying to get a GPS. I got a GPS just right before I got on, but he said, I'm not 100% sure. I got to check and I'll get back to you. He goes, okay. 19.9 sounds right.
19.9, right around
19.9 miles per hour. Yeah. So he's I think he's faster than Olsen. Olsen time 4.59, 4.58, something like that. I think he's a little faster. But here's what I think the unique part about him is. and why I think it may take wide receiver out of the equation the rest of the
I
draft.
agree with that.
Is
I was
this
going
guy
to talk
can play-
about that later. Yeah.
Okay, this guy can play wide receiver.
Mhm.
And that's so you're getting a combo guy. You're getting a guy who's a move tight end where Komet's the inline guy. And then you get a guy who, if you want to play, you can call it 12, but he isn't really going to be a second tight end. He could be wide out, could be X, could be Z, could be the slot, however you want to use him. But at 6'6", and he can run, and he's got 10-inch hands. This guy's a weapon, and so, I think it's interesting, and when you watch, did you see the Twitter thing the Bears put out when they were on the phone with him?
Oh yeah. When they called him,
they were.
Ben Johnson was hyped. Ben Johnson was like, "This is my guy." He's like, "This is my Sam Laporta."
They were obviously, we got a terrible connection here, Swifty. You keep freezing on me.
I don't know. I don't think I'm freezing. It's got to be you. I don't know. I don't.
Wait a
Chat,
minute. Let me
guys
do
seen me
this.
freeze up? Oh, let me ask the chat. Have I freezed up at all? I don't think so. I streamed for 5 hours yesterday and didn't freeze at all. So I don't.
Wait a
think
minute.
so.
Okay, there. Let me. I did that. I had my phone plugged in. When I unplugged the phone, that might do it. Because now. we're good.
Okay. Hey, it happens. It happens. Oh yeah, they said they're saying you were lagging a little bit. You were freezing up. It's all good.
Yeah,
It happens. What I was saying. Now I don't remember what I was saying. What were we saying? Oh, I was talking about Sam.
You're getting as old as me, bro.
I compared him last night. Everyone wanted to talk about Tyler Warren, and I remember when I said Tyler Warren, I said he's 3 inches taller than Tyler Warren. That's not true. He's the exact same height as Tyler Warren. He's 3 inches taller than Sam Laporta. That's where the 3 inches was in my head.
I know. You asked me that. I think he's a cross of, but taller and a little faster of Laporta and Kittle.
Okay, a little bit of George Kittle in him. I said, now see his blocking has been questioned. Now I did see, even in just the 2 all-22 games I watched, he's good at blocking down the field and on the second level. He gets in the way of linebackers, and it's not like he's overpowering and pancaking guys, but there's multiple runs where Donovan Edwards, the Michigan runner, he breaks free, especially in 2023 in their national championship run, where he gets to the second level, and the key block that opens up the big run, I saw 3 in 2 games already, where it's Loveland sealing off a safety or a linebacker and just opening up a wide open hole for him. So I do think his blocking downfield is going to be an asset. No, he's not a big guy. He's not going to come in and block defensive ends one-on-one.
No, but he's not going to play wide, so he's not going to have to.
Exactly. He's and this is where he's going to be at, right? He spent 50% of his snaps in the slot last year in Michigan, and 47.6 career percent of his snaps were in the slot. He's going to play there. And think about when we ask our slot receivers to do. We've had Tyler Scott come in and try to block people. That's going to be Colston Loveland now, a guy who's 6'6", 250, instead of a little 5'9", 180 receiver, or even Keenan Allen, who was doing it last year. But
no, I get it. It's very, very obvious that they wanted one of those 2 guys, and that's what they were aiming at. I think everything about trading up was nothing but smokescreen and fan media makeup BS, because they all wanted Genty. And I don't think he was even in the equation. I really don't. And the other one is,
see, I do. I got to see. I think it came down to the Raiders.
If he fell to 10, different story.
And
but they weren't going up and get him.
I think it came down to the Raiders, and I think the Bears knew it. If the Raiders would have taken Armand Mimbu, if they would have went with the right tackle who went 1 pick after him, I think Genty would have fell to us, and I think we take him over Loveland. I'm pretty positive of that. Obviously, we'll never know.
If he's there, it's a different story. I'm saying They weren't going up and getting
Oh,
him.
yeah.
And another thing.
I didn't ever want to trade up.
Pohl said last night, well, you weigh it against, the other stuff. And he goes, giving up those picks when we're going to get good players with those picks doesn't make sense.
Giving up two guys for one. It just,
it just doesn't make sense.
And
I'll tell you the other thing that
injured
was
and
interesting. I don't know if you caught it. So Biggs asked, well, now at 39, you're going to be looking at a left tackle or something. And Paul's basically shut it right down. He said, paraphrasing, he goes along the line of the players there really, and there's really no left tackle there, because the players there really match what we're trying to do. And what's there?
Do you think it would have been
back,
different if Kelvin Banks Jr. would have fell to 10?
I don't think they would have touched him. I think I think offensive line was strictly smokescreen. Because I listened to what Dan Rochard said, and Dan Rochard was very excited about Braxton and Amagashi. And so, hey, could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. I'm just, they spent a lot of money on the interior offensive line. Rochard goes, this is where it starts with the interior guys. You got to have that. And he goes, when you got a strong interior, that helps me with the tackles.
Yeah, 100%. My guy Viz, he made a great comment here. He says he wished they would have drafted a DE. And the reason why, now look, Michael Williams did go with the next pick, and a lot of DEs went off the board. And my defensive tackles I really liked all flew off the board too. Kenneth Grant went right there at 13. I love Kenneth Grant.
Yep, I do too.
I love James Pierce Jr. But when you're looking at the board right now,
Pierce, they wouldn't have taken.
Yeah, it's clear though right now, defensive end is the most talented position on the board right now.
Oh, I got it. Like,
I'll show you my I got two of them, but this is my no, that's not it. This is my
I got them in no order, Swifty. I got Green, Izuruku.
Okay, they're both on there,
or whatever, Landon Jackson, Jordan Birch, Scorton, and Ewan Milan.
Yeah, my top guys right now. These are my top overall. Nick Amanawore, the safety, Nick Scorton, defensive end, Mike Green, defensive end, who I don't think we'll touch him. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But Donovan Izaraku, who I think would be a perfect fit. I don't think we need a wide receiver, but Luther Burden I have a first round grade on him. And then I'd love either Ohio State running back.
Agree with you there too. One of them will be gone, and the guy I think is going to be gone is Henderson.
Yeah, but there's just so much talent though. When you're looking at the board right now, there's
I know, it's crazy.
A lot of talent.
They're picking 7 and 9.
Where is it?
So you're only going to lose 6 players and they're up. So who are those 6 going to be? Now, the one thing that's a lock, there will be 2 trades in front of them.
Yeah, I see that coming.
That happens every year. So because of those real high second round and fourth round picks are worth their weight in gold. So, people, they reset the board. They're looking at it. The player jumps out. Well, we got to get this guy. And they're going to jump up and try to get him. It's who is the player they want. We don't know that. But still, there's so much depth at an area where there's a need. It's like they're going to get one of the good ones.
Yeah. And to me, the guy I'm hoping for tonight is Nick Scorton. Have you done much on him?
I don't think I like him as much as you. I like Scorton, and I think he's a good fit. First of all, he got heavy at A&M. That's what they wanted him. You go back and you watch Purdue tape. He's 255 to 260, where he was 275 to 280 at A&M. A lot more explosive on 23 tape at Purdue than he was this year, and he also had double-digit sacks. But, he can play the run.
He played at 280 this year. I think that's one thing a lot of people. So he was 245 or 250 at Texas A&M, or I'm sorry, at Purdue. When he went to Texas A&M, he bulked up to 280. He did drop back down at the combine.
Yeah, he's 57 at the combine.
So I'm imagining teams are probably going to want him to play at that Purdue weight and what he tested at the combine.
Absolutely. But he fits the mold of what Allen has had in the past, But Allen's had guys like Izuruku too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to get down to, we can sit here and go, well, I like this guy, I like this guy, I like this guy, which is fine. But it's what's their board like,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know that. And I'm good with, hey, they're going to take the guy they have. What'll be weird is if I'm thinking the 3 picks in no particular order are going to be edge, offensive line, running back.
I could say you don't see D tackle being an option.
I do see it as an option. I don't see a DT worth taking in the second round right now.
Maybe not. Now, I would say I do like Alfred Collins. Like
Collins has got some.
They took my guy. I wanted Tyleek Williams here.
Yeah, he's got some injury stuff. It's not. I mean, it's not enough to say you can't take him, but he might go a little later than you think. So
there's some sleepers though.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. 3.
Do you like CJ West out of Indiana?
Love him.
Omar Norman
that's
Lott
Billings.
Tennessee. Oh yeah. See, so I think round 3 could be a spot right there for a defensive. One of the reasons I think, if you listen to everything they said this year, because they all talked about it. Ben Johnson did, Dennis Allen, our D-line coach, they all said they value pressure from the interior more than the exterior. So I think, there is one. Yeah, Q mentioned one defensive tackle. Do you like Darius Alexander, the guy out of Toledo?
Yeah, a little raw. The thing I don't like is that he's almost 25.
Yeah, a little bit older. But I mean, one reason why that could potentially be a positive is if you're looking for him to, of course, start off here, like come right off the bat and be an impact player right away, help out right away.
No, you're right. Here's one thing that popped into my mind was his first year he takes Valus, and Valus is 25. This guy's basically the same age, a couple months younger at the draft. And it didn't work with Valus. Is he going to take that older guy again? And so that, yeah, I'm probably outthinking it. I know how good the guy is, but I also know that he did it against the MAC, not against the Big Ten or the SEC. And the MAC is not anywhere close to those 5 games. Because I watch a lot of MAC tape, and the University of Buffalo, I watch every one of their games. And, just the quality competition isn't close to SEC or Big Ten.
Yeah, 100%. Someone in the chat asked about Birch from Oregon, and he's a guy I haven't talked about a lot. I know you like him a lot. He's a guy who could play edge or defensive tackle. I think he can move all around the D line. What do you like about Jordan Birch?
He's explosive. He's a little, when he was at South Carolina, he was a little smaller. I mean, that's another big guy, like 275, 280 pounds, who moves really well. Here's the only thing is, when they signed Deo, they signed that guy.
Yeah.
And so do you do that again? Because, Dale's the guy who's going to be playing outside and inside. And when he's inside, it's going to be third down. So, it'll be interesting. I think they need another anchor. Okay. Do they have to, can they get like CJ? I think you can get a little. Here's one thing that wouldn't surprise me. And you tell me what you think, is that they could, I think there's a possibility, unless there's a guy they have to have and they don't want to risk losing, that they trade down from 41.
I was going to talk. Yeah, I think 39, you take the best player available,
absolutely,
especially with all this talent here.
But at 41, because I already did the chart stuff, you only got to go 5 or 6 spots and you're getting a 4.
Yeah, and I mean, if you do that at that point, one of the reasons why it would be perfect for us is because, especially if we're targeting pass rusher, right, and we want one of these defensive ends, there's still a lot of very talented players on the board. Right. Like someone might want to trade up for, I mentioned the wide receiver, Luther Burden. Someone might want to trade up for him. Someone might want, after we take a pass rusher at 39, there might still be 1 or 2 stud pass rushers left that someone wants to come up and get at 41. So I
would
love
think
that.
if they want to, if they really want a running back and one of those guys is there, they do that one first.
Mhm.
I'm not
Ooh, the running back.
100% sold that I know the fan base has got to get a running back, but I'm looking at the people they're paying attention to, like during the not the preseason, during the March, the workout season, and it's guys like the SMU guy, Blue from Texas. They're swift, they're fast guys, and so people say, well, they got to get a hammer like Monty. Well, maybe that's what he had in Detroit. That doesn't mean he's got to have the same thing here.
There are options for that, though.
That's right. Well, he's got he's got a guy already in Roshan.
Roshan, yeah, we like Roshan.
Yeah.
I do like, someone in the chat did ask about Damian Martinez. He fits that profile, the guy out of Miami. You like him?
I just don't think that Ben's going to like the stopwatch.
This
guy's in love with speed now.
He is. But he also used David Montgomery a lot. He likes those physical runners too. I think I could see him maybe pairing a physical runner in here with him. But I do think the guy, when I look at this class and I'm like, which running back do I think Ben Johnson would love and would add us one more piece on offense? If Travion Henderson is there at 39, I could see us making that pick pretty quick.
Yeah. Have you seen the tape of him pass blocking?
He's the best pass blocker, not only in this class, he might be one of the best pass blocking running backs I've ever seen on tape.
No. And that's one of the keys. A rookie running back wants to play. You got to be able to trust him in pass pro.
And what does that do?
Damn, can he pass pro?
Helps Caleb Williams.
Darn right.
Yep.
So, it's an interesting guy. I just think he's one of the first 6.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because that's the guy I'd prefer. And I'd take Junkins in a minute. Junkins to me is a lot faster version of Monty.
Do you see a scenario where the Bears move up to get him if that's their guy?
No. I don't think he wants to surrender any picks.
I hope not, man. I don't want to lose picks here. I know we could maybe make it up a little bit if we trade back from 41, but I think we're in a perfect position right here to set at 39, take the best player available, and then you can either double down and grab another one of these really good prospects at 41. But like you, I'd prefer a trade down there. If we could trade down 5-6 spots, maybe even a little bit more, pick up a early 4th, late 3rd, that'd be beautiful.
Well, like I said, when I did the exercise earlier today, I didn't know how far you had to go. And it turned out it's like 5.5 spots get you 4. So, do it. Because the chances of you still getting the player you want are pretty good. And the only time I'd say no to that is if there's a guy you're looking at that you really want. And you can't say to yourself, but he's there at 41. Is he going to be there at 46? And if you can't say yes, then you don't make the trade.
Yeah.
Because it depends what their feeling is on the player.
I think they'd have to be in a position where there's a multiple guys. Like,
agree.
Okay, we like one of these 3 guys, so we can move back and we should still be able to get one of them.
Yep, I agree with that.
Q asked a great question here. I don't think any of us think the Bears are taking a cornerback here, but Will Johnson is clearly one of the most talented players on the board. Do you see him being one of the first players off, or do you think he's a guy who's going to...
Here's the problem. People think he can't run. That's the real thing. Estimated at 4.56, and he's got hammy problems. I don't know what his GPS speed is. That would answer a lot of questions. But, we talked about it when I was on with Aldo. Well, he was a first-round pick. Well, if he was a first-round pick, he would have gone in the first round. We're in the second round. So, and he missed a lot of 24. he did position drills at his pro day when he was, and showed that he's pretty much 100%, yet he wouldn't run. And that is a stopwatch driven position.
100%. And on tape, you don't see the speed being an issue, but you don't see corners with 4 or 5 speed going in the first round either. It's just something that
No,
NFL
Kyler Gordon was 4.50, and he went
second round.
Second round.
Yeah. Not a first rounder. He would have, if he would have
Jalen Johnson was 4.50, went in the second round.
Now, if those guys would have ran 4.4s, they both would have been first round picks.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad they didn't, because they worked out great here. So I do think Will Johnson's going to be a really good corner. He was one of the better players on that defense, one of the better defenses in the league,
I
nation.
Can't get an argument out of that, but I just know that, I know how people think, and they look at that stopwatch at certain positions, and that's one of the ones. And this guy didn't run, and there's people that think he's slow. Now, I'd love to see him go, in a perfect world. Shedeur Sanders goes, he goes, a couple other guys, and we're golden.
And we sit here and get the defensive ends. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So
where do you see Shedeur falling? Do you have a spot?
I don't have a clue. I went on. I hate Pro Football Talk, but I went on there just a little while ago. And the bettors have him going first overall, and then I just started laughing. I said, "Yeah," and the bettors had the Bears trading up. Vegas had the Bears trading up. I mean, that was the biggest con of the year, that they were going to trade up.
So we didn't talk about safety. There's a couple of them. It's not just Nick Amanawore, but Xavier Watts on the board. I also like Kevin Winston out of Penn State. I think if he wouldn't have got hurt, he would be right around here as a late first round pick. What do you think about Nick Amanawore, though?
I think he's a Brisker type. Not as good Brisker's a better man cover guy. He's at his best when he's up closer to the line of scrimmage. He's a banger. Put it this way, strong safety type. Don't think he could play the free. I was surprised he didn't get taken, and that's probably why. Is the question is because you got to have your safeties man up at times, and I just don't know if that's a strong point for him. I'll be honest, I didn't do as much on defensive backs because I didn't see it as a big need. Here's the thing, Swifty, and tell me if you agree with me. Fans think they got to have a safety, and part of the reason is everybody's out of contract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is valid reason, except there was really nice safeties available in free agency even after the first wave.
Yep.
Didn't even attempt to sign one.
There wasn't last year. Last year it was the same way. Like, we got Kevin Byard really early, but the rest of the safety market kind of didn't take place until after the draft. It was really slow in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys that I liked that went 2 to 3 weeks into free agency and got 1-year deals. And so, if they got 1-year deals, the Bears could have given them a 1-year deal, and they didn't do it. So that tells me that it's not as big an issue with them as it is with the fan base. But in fact, in all honesty, even though Amanawore is the higher rated player, I think I'd rather have Xavier Watts because I know what he can do. He's a freaking ball hawk.
Xavier Watts also, he pairs really well with Brisker. If Brisker ends up staying healthy, because Brisker is like Amanawore, they're both better near the line of scrimmage, whereas Watts is more of that center field, play deep safety. He can play that one cover.
But he can come up and bang too, which is good about it.
He can.
So I know I like him. It'll be interesting. I mean, we'll find out the truth. If they, they really haven't, if they feel they have a need, they'll take one of those guys.
Yeah, 100%. And I do think it's a possibility. Based on their visits, their top 30 visits and stuff, we definitely were looking at safeties. I know we We had a couple visits with Andrew Makuba. We also met with him at the combine, the safety from Texas. We've met with Winston, and we've also met with Sebastian Castro, the Iowa safety. So they might be playing.
Castro's a guy you're going to get tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. We might be waiting.
A hell of a player.
Might not be a thing we're doing today, but we might be adding a safety at some point, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, they don't have a 4. They got a 5. History says you get good safeties on day 3.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's a couple of them. I like Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma. There's a couple sleeper guys that could fall.
He's a good player. He's just a little too small for me. And on top of being short, he's got real short arms.
Maybe another reason why trading down from 41 and grabbing a 4th round pick tomorrow would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would help us out, especially if we want.
Oh, for sure. And then you got 4, 5, and 2 7s tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Hey, great call. Watts also, that's a guy who Caleb had a bad day against Notre Dame against Xavier Watts. That was his worst game on film.
3 picks in the first half.
Some of the worst throws I'd seen him make in college. And Xavier Watts' coverage skills, definitely part of that. The one interception he had, that was incredible. The one on the sideline where he just jumped the route. Yeah, he's a playmaker. So I love him.
Al Golden, who was the Notre Dame defensive coordinator through this past season. Now he's back at Cincinnati.
They pick after us, so
right now here's what he said. This is going back with the USC game a year ago. He said, they asked him about the game plan. He goes, "I use the exact same game plan we used in Cincinnati against Kansas City and Mahomes."
I like that. That's tough.
He said we just did the same thing, and they shadowed, they shadowed Caleb, shadowed Mahomes, and because Caleb can beat you with his feet when he gets open, but so you don't want him break contain, but at the same time, you're not really worried that he's going to run, but if he does run, he can be dangerous.
Yeah. 100%. Doug makes a great point here. Dennis Allen does love to run a lot more man coverage than Flus did. We ran a ton of zone with Flus here.
Yep.
And one thing we're going to like, he's already said that Jalen Johnson's going to go around and shadow the opposing receivers.
Right.
So do you think that plays into what kind of fit we're looking for at safety? He definitely plays a different style of defense. I know in New Orleans, one thing he liked to do is move his free safety around. He had Tyrann Mathieu, and he'd move Mathieu all over the place. He'd play in the slot sometimes. Sometimes he'd be back at free safety.
Matthew's not a big guy, too. He's a smaller guy.
And I honestly think they might do that with Kyler Gordon this year a little bit because he already plays the slot. He might play him with a little bit of free safety. But do you think that changes what they're looking for in safety at all?
I can't give an answer only because I just don't know enough about his scheme.
Yep.
Because I knew the other scheme like the back of my hand because it's what we did with Lovey.
It's what you did in Chicago with Lovey. Yeah.
So this one, it's different, and I just haven't had the time to study it, and so I just don't know.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's one of my favorite things about this draft is we're going to learn what kind of players does Dennis Allen like. What kind of players does Ben Johnson like? And we're already learning. Look what Ben Johnson just grabbed on offense. That's something that would not have been our pick if Eberflus was still the coach. I think that's purely clear. This was a Ben Johnson influenced pick, and this is the guy Ben Johnson wanted. And I think we're going to see something similar on defense today. Dennis Allen is going to get his guy on defense. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun day. I just we're going to find out real quick how they value running back. Is it the need that the fan base thinks it is?
Yep.
100%. And if it is, they're going to, one of those twos is going to be a running back. If it isn't, you might not see one till tomorrow.
I think we could wait. One of the things I do think someone asked earlier is with the depth at running back, I do think we can wait till round 3 and still get a really good player. I really like Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. I don't know, Bashul Tootin, Virginia Tech. There's even Damian Martinez and Cam Scatabo, and there's going to be guys. I'm not really a
Scatabo. I can't
I'd be
for the life
okay
of me
with
think
it.
Scalaboo would be a pick because he's too slow. And
It'd have to be round 3 for me.
well, I just don't think they'd touch. I think he's a day 3 guy myself. I love the player, what he brings to the table. Not going to argue that. Just looking at the physical traits, and he can't run. But where's my running back list that I had here?
Someone else asked,
The SMU guy I like too.
Oh yeah, Elijah or Rashard Smith.
Yes, and they paid a lot of attention to him at the pro day.
He has that speed.
4.39. I don't think he plays 4.39, but he timed 4.39, and he's been a wide receiver. So now, and you're going to get him 3rd, 4th round, and so and he's a guy that can play out wide. So now it's a guy that can play 2 positions.
And he's a kick returner as well.
Yeah.
And he's a dangerous kick returner. That was basically his, that was his main role the last few years at Miami. This year he transferred to SMU and took it somewhere else. But yeah.
What's amazing is that I don't know if he's a running back in high school, but he looked like a natural on the SMU tape.
He did. His cuts, his vision, and he's so quick. He has that burst too. I like him a lot. He's a sleeper for sure.
The only thing I didn't see, you're looking 4.39. Well, you see 4.39 with the quickness and getting around the corner, but where you don't see it, as there had to be 3-4 times you see him get caught.
Where do you think he goes? I think he can go in round 2.
3 or 4. I don't think he goes in 2. 3 or 4.
The only reason I say he could go in 2, in my opinion, is we know how GMs are sometimes. When guys run in the 4.3 range, they tend to get overdrafted. And
I'm not adding the kick return, but the same thing. He's not a punt returner. He's a kickoff returner, and the kickoff is different than what he did.
But we got those new rules,
right? And but you got to be able to. I mean, there really is just the one wedge, and it's right in front of you. You break that, you got a chance to take it the distance. So that brings added value for him, and maybe that does bring in 3. I mean, this is you go back to this draft. I'll say 10 to 50, 10 to 55. They're all the same type of player. It's how each team values them.
100%. A couple people have asked if you think there's a chance, if we wait on running back, do you think there's a chance we draft 2? I think mostly with the picks we have now, we'd probably draft 1 and maybe bring in a UDFA. So probably not. But
yeah, and then they got the kid last year who had a good camp and tore his ACL, Williams. So and
Ian Wheeler, yeah.
Bieniemy sounded kind of excited about him. Where he is on the rehab, I have no idea. Let's see. He had the beginning of September. He had surgery. So September, October, November, December, January. He's like 8 months out. I mean, he might be able to take part when they get into OTAs, just not full go.
Yep. And Levante pointed out something that I did see on tape with Dennis Allen's stuff. He does like to run a NASCAR package out there in passing situations. Well, he'll really have 4 defensive ends out there. And I think now if you're moving Deo inside, I think we could still have Jervon Dexter out there as well. But I think we could see us with 3 defensive ends and Jervon Dexter plenty this year. And that to me, that puts the need on defensive end even higher. And with the way the board's falling,
I think that, you could get an anchor tomorrow with a guy, you got the injury stuff on the Texas kid who I really like. You got JJ Pegues from Ole Miss. There's a lot of defensive tackles that just don't have name recognition. CJ West. I mean, if they got CJ West, I'd be jumping for joy. It's like
I love CJ West.
He's one of my favorite players in the draft, and he's a local kid.
Yep. I like. There's a late guy I like as well. I don't know if you watched him, but Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon. He's a guy I think.
No, he's a good player.
I like him.
Everybody's concentrating on Harmon, and this guy's making plays.
I like him. Caldwell's a good player, and if he falls to round 5, I think that'd be an awesome pick.
Yeah.
100%.
No, I'll tell you, it's going to be an interesting 2 days. Today being real interesting because you got a chance to get really good players today.
100%. 100%. Oh, look at this. We got a special guest. I wanted to introduce you to this guy. This is Glynn Morgan from NBC Sports. He was actually up in Green Bay at the NFL draft. He was going to join me and talk after you left today, but he's showing up a little bit early. I think he's driving back from Green Bay, so I wanted to give him a chance to introduce you.
I see the cars going by. So
yeah. How you guys doing?
Don't get in a crash now, bro.
That happened on my way to Green Bay.
Oh, wow.
True story. Yeah, there was a blown tire out in front of me from a truck or whatever, and I couldn't avoid it. Went right underneath my undercarriage, cut my grill. So yeah, I've been driving with a limp front pretty much since yesterday. But hey, everything was safe. Me and my best friend, we went up to Green Bay. We made it there safely, and I've dropped him off at the airport, and I'm not too far from home, so it's all been good. Pleasure to meet you, Greg. Pleasure to meet you.
Man,
I just really had a quick question for you. And I'm sure you guys probably addressed it. I've been driving, so I missed out if you did. Between the tight ends that were taken in the first round, does it really matter, or how much more specific is the difference between Colson and Warren to fit Johnson's system?
Oh, okay.
I think they're both fits. Loveland, I thought going in that Warren could play some wide receiver.
Yeah.
Okay, but is he going to be as effective as Colson? I think Colson would be more effective doing that. But with Warren, I think Warren's more physical, and you bring him in as another Y, where you can do it with Loveland, but he's not going to be as effective that way. So they both got strengths that are separate, but at the same time they're both very similar. And I think Colston is probably Warren's agent's a good friend of mine. He didn't time for anybody, but he said in training he was running consistent 4.65s, where there's not a doubt in my mind that Loveland is going to run 4.57, 4.58.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit faster.
Colson is more downfield threat then, and a bit more explosive per se, whereas Warren gives you a little more maybe horizontal threat as opposed to vertical threat.
Yeah, they're both. Well, you can do a lot with Warren too. I mean, Warren was a quarterback coming out, and so I mean, you can do that tush push package with Warren, and take Caleb out, but you can't. You're not going to do that with Loveland. So, I mean, they each had their advantages. I can tell you one thing. I tweeted it out earlier, and I went back and started looking at, did polls ever talk about guys that he drafted pre-draft? You know what? He never talks about them.
Mm-mm.
The guys he talks about, they don't take. And so
I was telling people that the other day because people were like, oh, he loves Warren and he loves and I was like, well, listen to this, because go back to the year he took Jalen Carter. He talked up Jalen Carter like crazy before the draft. Didn't say a word about Darnell Wright.
Right. So it's the guys she wants to take. He never brings their name up.
I think he's just a smooth route runner, man. He's so fluid with his movements. He can get in and out of his breaks so quickly, and he has
he gets separation like a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. And he has that frame of a not just. I think we got to not view him as a tight end. You view him as an offensive pass catcher and a weapon that you can move all over the place. I think someone was pointing it out. I don't know who it was. It's one of these big YouTubers out there. I saw it on Twitter last night that they're going to use him, and they did it at Michigan a lot like the Chiefs use Travis Kelce. We're not trying to compare him to him, but what the Chiefs will do with him a lot is when they go into their more heavy formations, they'll move him out as the X wide receiver and get him in those one-on-one situations. Michigan did the same thing with Colston Loveland. And when you do that, he presents mismatches. And he's a guy who he's too fast for linebackers to cover, and he's too big for corners. If you got a corner on him, he's going to go up over him and grab it. So
yeah, you got to throw a jump ball, and he's going to win all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of Buffalo's tight end that they have now. Is it Kincaid, I believe?
Dalton Kincaid. Yeah, I see a little bit Kincaid.
Yeah,
but
he's bigger than Kincaid.
Mm-hmm.
Kincaid's like 6'3.5", and this guy's 6'5'7". So he's a hair under 6'6".
So that being said, seems like no one's upset about last night's pick. I was a little miffed just because I like to be right. So my ego was bruised. That's fine.
I was shocked, but yeah.
Going forward, looking towards tonight, positionally speaking, is there more of a focus on the opposite side of the line in terms of defensive end, or is running back, i.e., one of the guys from either Ohio State or maybe Caleb Johnson, is that something that the Bears are focusing with 39 and 41, or how do you see it, Greg?
I said it earlier. I see them taking a running back, a defensive lineman, and an offensive lineman today. Now, will it happen? That remains to be seen.
Sure. Would you be upset if safety was addressed as position?
No, we were talking about that, and it wouldn't surprise me. My one thought on that, though, is they didn't even attempt to address it in free agency. And so because of that, because you can't go into a draft saying you think you're going to get something when you just don't know. And they didn't address it in free agency. And that right away tells me it might not be the issue to them as it is to the fans.
I get you. Even with the number of these guys being unrestricted free agents going into next season, you still think that that's something that is down the line. Then maybe they trade back a little bit, pick up an additional draft pick, and then maybe address that position if that's the case.
Oh, I think they might take one. I just don't, there's two that they could take today, and it wouldn't shock me.
Right.
And Emanuwari and Watts. But will they? It would be kind of surprising to me if they did, but wouldn't shock me.
Yeah,
they're guys that weren't being taken in those spots.
We got to get an edge rusher, man. Got to.
It would be nice. Again, deep draft for both edge rushing position and running back, so I'm not too worried in terms of where they select those guys. I think
you're starting to cut out really bad there, Glenn. I don't know.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's like a connection thing. It's like, can you hear him okay, Greg, or is it like?
Yeah, I can hear him. It breaks up, but I understand what he's saying.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, I totally lost a train of thought of where I was going with that question.
My bad.
No worries. Going forward, with everything that the Bears have done so far in free agency and at least a little bit of an insight as to offensively how the Bears may be aligning themselves, do you like the direction that Chicago's headed in overall, Greg?
Yeah. Yeah, he's trying to build a team based on what they did in free agency and just one pick, building a team to his image, what he wants.
And what do you think of Ben Johnson overall? We're talking so much about the team. What do you think about the new head coach?
Well, I was buying into the rumors that he was going to the Raiders. I didn't think they were going to get him. So, but it's funny then, I had his agent's a friend of mine, but he's a local guy. He lives in Highland Park. And, I just wasn't going to make the call because I figured he'd lie to me anyway. So, you leave it alone. But I had him on my other podcast. And, he was terrific. And he basically said it was only Chicago that, he's wanted to come here. He just didn't think he was ready a year ago. And the job wasn't available a year ago. So you look at it, people say they should have got rid of Flus a year ago. Well, if you did, you wouldn't have the guy you got now as the head coach. So that part worked out. But here's what Rick said to me was that it's the day after Detroit loses, so it's Sunday, and they're going, okay, they're talking about Jacksonville, they're talking about the Raiders, they're talking about the Bears, and pros and cons. And he said then Monday morning, Ben calls him and said, call Chicago, get a deal done. I mean, it wasn't, and it never had an in-person interview. It's like he made his decision. You didn't have to sell him.
Yeah. Wild, man. He wanted to be here. And I think that was one of the things I was so excited about with Ben Johnson. And when fans are looking at this Colston Loveland pick, I think it's clear to anybody who views it, this was a Ben Johnson pick. And when they released the footage last night of calling him, Ben Johnson said so himself. He said, I know what you bring to the table. I know who you are. You're my guy. You're big. You're fast. You're athletic. You're going to catch the ball. He's like, we're going to get it. Ben was hyped. So and we turned that card in like that.
Swifty, that's what tells me, watching that whole thing, was the guy all along.
Mm-hmm. He was hyping up Tyler Warren to put people off. Yeah.
Right. They talked about Tyler Warren. They didn't talk about Loveland.
He was like, go ahead, take Tyler Warren. I don't care. Yeah, we love him. He's great. I love it. And I love how we keep things secret. And the media had no idea. I didn't see one single Bears media guy with us having connections with Colston Loveland. Not one. So at least we're able to not lay our cards on the table and let everyone know exactly what we're going to do in the draft.
Yeah, I think for the most
part,
what
they were doing too. They were doing too, and instead of bringing guys in, they were doing Zoom calls.
Mm-hmm.
And that nobody finds out about those now.
Right, that's private.
I know. I was told not to say anything before, but that's what they did with Warren. They didn't bring him in out of 30. He didn't make any 30s. They did Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I take that back. He made 130, and I know why. He made a 30 to the Colts, who ended up taking him. And the reason being was, they do the bod pod at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
And the Colts thought it had to be wrong because his percentage body fat was like too high for that position. So Ballard was telling me this the other day, and he says, I told the age, he goes, no, I if you want me to take him, I got to make sure this is right. So I'm not going to take a fat guy. And so they brought him in, and he was fine when they put him in the bod pod there.
Gotcha. That's the only reason for him to come in for the 30, just to make sure that the body measurement was
right.
solid.
And that's the only 30 visit he made.
Interesting. Yeah, it's funny because you said earlier, Spiffy, like no one was aligning Colston at all with Chicago, but with the Colts, pretty much a lot of people had him going there. I know on my board I had him going there as well. I just find it so ironic in a way, just funny, karmically speaking, that guys are flip flop. Colston is here and Warren's over with the Colts.
Would have taken Loveland had the Bears taken.
So we talked about that. Greg knows. He talked to Chris Ballard.
Ballard and I were texting back after the pick. I mean, he's happy with Warren, but he goes, I gotta say it though, the Bears got the right guy for their offense.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it looks mentioned. Hey, you know what? I love tall guys because you don't have to be that accurate. It gives you a much greater catching radius, and that's going to help tremendously. And with the way Caleb still likes to run left and right, having guys that can move left and right with him when he goes, but present a target in terms of their length, that's something that invariably is going to help out throughout the season.
Yeah, for sure.
How far are you away from home, Glenn? Where are you at right now?
I actually just pulled in front of my house.
Oh, okay, okay.
I just made it home. So yeah, I'm not driving with my hands off the wheels. That's what you're wondering. So what a car accident.
I thought maybe you had a Tesla with that, autopilot or whatever.
We thought after the draft, you weren't happy with your time in Green Bay, so you were just letting Jesus take the wheel.
Well, you know what? I had a lot of alcoholic, or I'm sorry, as I say alcoholic, a lot of adult beveraging after the pick. I was able to, take my minds off of another Bears first round, where initially I was somewhat frustrated, but after I woke up, after the haze cleared, it made a lot more sense, and I'm a lot more content with the pick and where the Bears are going.
Glynn, there's multiple reports here that you have a cheese head stuck to the grill on the front of your car. I don't know if you looked at that, but
I may have taken one or two out along the way. Yeah, I mean, I got to stay true to my roots. I mean, if you're there, just like Homer Simpson, I'm driving forward. If you're right there and you walk into it, that's on you.
So let me. You stayed in Green Bay last night.
Yes, sir.
Right? So did they jack up the hotel prices?
Yeah, the prices. You know what? I stayed with a friend though, so I was fortunate enough I didn't stay at a hotel.
Okay.
So I stayed at a friend. But as I was walking towards where the festivities were, you saw the prices of parking just escalate.
I saw
that. $100, $120. That was crazy.
150. It kept going. It was so funny, Greg. At one point, you literally walked 50 yards, and it went not 50 yards, but 50 feet, and it went from 120 to 125. I'm like, really? So this little patch right here is about.
That's crazy.
So, but you know what? The drinking prices weren't that crazy, though. All things being said, so I was actually able to enjoy myself there, and nice meal. And really, you know what? As much as Bear fans, and as much as growing up as a Bear fan, and the hate is real in terms of not rooting for the Packers, I thoroughly enjoy whenever I go up there. The people are so warm. I've always had a great time. I've never had any kind of conflict because I'm from Chicago and they're from Green Bay. Now, granted, the times I've gone, we've been losing, so they're a lot more gracious when it comes to that. But it was a really good time. It was, for as small a town as it is, I didn't feel like there was any type of crowd, no crowd issues. I didn't feel impinged upon. I didn't feel like anyone was just, there wasn't any room to move. Even when I went inside to some of the establishments, it was really spaced out well. They did a great job, really, in my opinion. They really did.
Awesome, man. I think Green Bay, man. I know there were some loud people up there yelling with you. I don't like my biggest disappointment was that the other NFC North teams had good drafts. I didn't want to see that. They took guys I like. So.
Right. That's always the case, though, isn't it? It seems like that for the last several years. It's like, come on. I thought the Lions might go in initially, just because with the loss of Hutchinson last year and how their pass rush just seemed to kind of not have the same bite to it. But there's still, again, a deep draft for that. They can still address that. Getting Tyler Williams, I think, can help you because now it helps your interior. You can get more pressure up front. And we saw how effective that was for the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And, I think the Vikings did a good job showing up their offensive line. And the Packers, getting a wide receiver, I didn't think that was something that they had to address in the first round. It's something they haven't done in so long. But the guy they got, he's going to stretch the field. It's just another weapon. And it is something that, could be concerning. I'm not going to worry about it right now. But getting a guy who's sub 4.3,
here's the thing. He ran real fast. Watch the tape. He doesn't play 4.29, 4.3. He's fast. There's no question, but he doesn't play that fast.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you still got to catch the ball. You still got to do something with it afterwards. So,
no, he's a good receiver. But I would have thought on tape he's like between 4.4 and 4.45, not 4.3.
Interesting. Yeah. I wonder why that is.
Well, some guys just don't. They can time faster than they play. So, there's a lot of players like that. And then you got guys, I'll go way back. Jerry Rice didn't time fast.
Right.
Whoever caught him? Nobody ever caught him.
Yeah.
I love it. Glynn, I appreciate you joining from the car, man. I'll let you go inside. If you want to rejoin when you get inside, maybe that'll probably fix your mic connection too. You're still on it's just like a weird connection. But if you got to go, also, I'll see you later. And it's nothing but love, man. And I'm glad I was able to introduce you to Greg Gabriel. We got to have you guys get together again some other time for sure.
Sounds good.
Totally appreciate it, man. Yeah, I got to roll. Get to the other gig right quick. But guys, thank you so much, Greg. Pleasure meeting you. Swifty, pleasure as always. Hey, go Bears, and we'll see what happens tonight, guys. We'll see what happens tonight.
See you later. Thanks.
See you, Glenn. Much love, Glenn. Greg, I'll get back. We'll see if there's any further questions here. If anybody else had any final questions for you. Did you have any final thoughts about tonight's draft or?
No, just I'm really excited to see how it goes because, I know who I like, I know who I don't like, but that doesn't mean anything. It's who they like. And so it'll be interesting to see how that falls.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a lot of guys on the board that could potentially be perfect fits for the Bears. I will add that as far as Green Bay last night, did you hear him say that that was the biggest event in the city ever?
Really?
Yeah, they said
probably. Yeah, absolutely.
They said it was bigger.
They said the league put out 205,000. I don't know if there's 205,000 there.
It's wild. It's wild. I mean, I think it's cool for the city, but I don't like Packers, so.
No, but I got to be honest. Like he said, nice people. When I was working there, every year we went up to the game up there. A lot of times my family with me, and they'd be in the stands, and I was up in the press box and had to go up early, so they'd wander around the parking lots and stuff. He said the people were great.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I saw it last night. I mean, Glynn did join me live from the draft last night. There were a lot of loud Packers fans yelling stuff in the background, but mostly they seemed pretty nice. I did have a couple questions. I think we might have answered it earlier, but do you think there's any chance the Bears take Mike Green, or do you think he's just completely off their board?
I know he's completely off a bunch of boards. I'm going to assume, based on the issues, that he's off the Bears, knowing their philosophy on that type of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And I kind of agree with that, and it's why I haven't been high on him. I think my only difference to that thought process here is, as a first-round pick, I thought, no way we touched him. With him being a guy who's potentially a top 10 pick, falling all the way down to 39, if they've done their due diligence and everything checks out, I could see it happening. I don't think it's likely. It's possible, but not probable. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I would say not likely at all, only because, like I say, I've been in the building and I know what the feeling is from the top. But and here's what the issue, and it doesn't matter if it's a first round pick or a 7th round pick. The last thing you want is to bring in a guy and he ends up being an embarrassment. Mm-hmm. And you go back to when, Jerry got fired because he signed a free agent that ended up being a drug dealer.
Tank Johnson?
No, the wide receiver.
This Colin Hurd, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a whole operation or something going on.
A big operation, multi-million-dollar operation.
Man, this is wild.
But here's the thing: nobody in Dallas knew a thing either.
Yeah,
nobody knew a thing.
100%. Well, I think what most fans want to know is, going into tonight, if we had to pick, I've seen multiple people ask it, who would be your preferences for pick 39 and 41? And I think we both would agree, if we could make a pick at 39 and trade down from 41, we'd both do that.
Okay. If Henderson was there, it would be Henderson. Okay, then Judkins. And, the Saints are right after. If I thought, so I put it this way, if I really wanted Judkins and I had to have him and Henderson's gone, then I'm not going to mess around and wait till 41 for him. I'm going to take him at 39. Then at 41, you take the other guy. I'm going to assume they're going to take an edge. Could take an offensive lineman, but I see an edge coming before that. And there's a bunch to choose from. I know you like Scorton. I think I'd rather have a Zikaruku.
He's a rock of Boston College. Yep.
Who else? Oh, I love Landon Jackson because of what he can be, and he's so explosive. I mean, how many edges can he get with a 40-inch vertical jump and 4.6 speed? So I'm looking at the traits. So to me, but I know what Scorton is.
So
He's
you
going to
like
come in.
Prince,
You're gonna,
or you
what?
like Landon? I like Princely. Princely Umanmiele
I
is the guy
think
I like.
I like Princely too. I just think he's going to be there in the third round.
So that's what I think about. I think Landon could fall to the third round. But
He could. He could.
Either one of those guys could potentially fall, and that's one reason why even if we don't take a pass rusher here, I still think we have a chance to get one tomorrow. There's other guys like Ashton Gillette, Josiah Stewart, so plenty of pass
tomorrow or third round.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Or third round, yeah, third round.
Yeah,
No,
because tomorrow you don't as of right
Tomorrow's
now you
round
don't
5,
have a 4.
Yeah.
And so unless you got a 4, you got to do it now.
Hoping we get one. Now, Samo did point out that Henderson and Swift have the same skill set. One of the reasons I continue hammering this down, I don't think DeAndre Swift plays into our long-term future or will affect who we take at running back here.
No,
this is a Ben Johnson pick. DeAndre Swift, he's going to be on the roster this year. At least a 50% chance he's cut next year. So I don't think we draft our running back based on, I don't think you really take that into account. You take the best player for Ben Johnson's offense and the future of this team, not I'm going to take someone else because we have DeAndre Swift for a year. I don't think that should really be a factor in my opinion. But to me, I'm right there with you. I think my choice would be Nick Scorton. I'd also love Donovan Izaraku. I think he'd be a perfect fit because then we got Deo Odangbo on the outside. He moves inside the defensive tackle. Donovan Izaraku, perfect fit right there as the guy coming in on third downs. And then give me Quinshawn Judkins or Travion Henderson. I would take either one of those guys. They're both studs.
You won't get an argument.
And my sleeper, I like Jack Sawyer a lot too. Have you done much on him?
Yeah, he's a shorter arm guy, so I'm a trait guy. I admit that. And so when I saw the shorter arms, then I kind of felt I liked the player. To me, I'd rather have him third round or fourth round than second round, and really more fourth round because I want length at that position.
Yeah, true. I do like Sawyer overall as a prospect. I think he's one of those guys that we like the high character guys. We like the locker room leaders. I would not be mad if we could grab him in the third round. He's one of those hard workers. He's going to play the run well, and he has some pass.
Somebody just flashed up Braden Swinson from LSU. I really like him too.
Oh, yeah, I love Swinson, man. He's another guy, and he could even go higher than some of these other guys. I think his tape is really good. Yep, he's an option to come off the board early in round 2.
And what he plays both the run and rushes the passer well.
Good player. I know my guy Walt. He loves Braden Swinson. I'm a big fan. I do like him. That's the depth in the defensive end. There's just so many pass rushers there. I think we got to take one. I think that's my goal for tonight. We don't have to take a running back.
What Paul said to Biggs kind of lines up to the type of players we want to get. So,
I'm with it. I'll be excited for this one. I'm ready, Greg. It's always
me too.
Always fun to talk to you. You doing anything tonight, or are you doing another show with Aldo tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning at 9.
You'll be on early with Aldo tomorrow. Check out Greg will be on the bar room.
Sleep, but we'll do it at 9.
They'll be happy.
The draft starts at 11, so I want to 11 our time.
Oh, you guys are going before the draft. Okay.
Yeah.
Pre-draft. Oh, see, maybe I'll wake up early and watch you guys. So be sure to check that out tomorrow, guys. Barroom Network. Anyone who's not familiar, Aldo and Greg do a show every Tuesday over there. Awesome show, but they'll be doing a pre-draft special tomorrow.
Yeah. Now they're doing a show all during with
all day 3 too. Yeah. I think I'm stopping by at some point.
Yeah. So, and that's with like Ross Reed, everybody that's involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the bar room are going to be on that. I'll probably jump on for a couple minutes, probably in an area where like the Bears don't have a 6, so maybe in the 6 I'll jump in there for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Aldo invited me early, so I don't know if I officially signed the sign up thing yet, but I meant to.
Hey,
I'm
all you
planning
do
on.
is need the link and pop in, man.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I'm saying. I was like, I'll just pop in at some point. He knows I did that last year. I just popped in a couple times. So yeah, as always, Greg, man, it's honor having you. I will be live for the picks tonight, guys. Round 2 and 3. Stay tuned for that and bear down.
See you later. Thank you.